Scorpio, if your eyes have landed on these words, this is not just another video for you to scroll past in silence. This is that strange electric moment when something inside you whispers, "This is about me," even before your mind has had time to catch up. And today we are speaking straight to the part of you that is exhausted, battle-tested, and secretly wondering if life will ever stop feeling like a test. Because for more than a decade you have walked through seasons that would have broken a softer soul, and yet here you are, still standing, still hoping, still listening for a sign that all of this pain has meant something. 13 long years of pressure, of plans that almost worked and then crumbled, of doors that opened halfway and slammed shut, of people who promised forever and vanished when you needed them the most, of finances that rose just enough to give you hope and then slipped through your fingers like sand, of days when you pushed forward, even though it felt like you were moving through invisible concrete, and through it all you kept going. And that persistence is not a small thing. It is the quiet miracle that has carried you to this threshold where an old cycle ends and a new destiny era begins to unfold. You have felt blocked in ways that did not make sense, as if there were unseen currents working against you, delays that felt unfair, pauses that stretched too long, misunderstandings that cut deeper than they should have. But at a soul level, something very different has been happening. Your spirit has been forged, your intuition sharpened, your ability to see through illusion activated. And now the energy around you is shifting from test to activation, from survive to build, from collapse to rebirth. The long cycle you are emerging from was not a punishment. It was a refinement, a slow stripping away of what was false, shallow, or unstable in your life, so that what remains, and what begins from here, can actually last. And if you look back honestly, you'll see it. The jobs that fell apart were the ones that never truly fit your spirit. The relationships that broke were the ones built on shaky foundations. The paths that disappeared were the ones that would have kept you small. But in the moment, it only felt like loss, rejection, and loneliness. You have cried in silence, questioning whether you were cursed, wondering why other people seemed to move ahead easily while your progress felt like dragging a mountain uphill. And yet even when you were on your knees, something inside you refused to die. That something is your Scorpio core, the phoenix ember that never fully goes out, the part of you that can turn ruins into sacred ground. When the world looked at you and saw struggle, the universe was looking at you and seeing preparation, seeing a soul being trained to hold more power, more responsibility and more abundance than it could have handled before. It is said that pressure reveals what is weak and polishes what is strong. These 13 years have revealed both, and now you stand on the other side of that crucible, wiser, clearer, and more aligned with who you really are. In the unseen sky of your life, slow-moving cosmic cycles have been turning like great gears, shaping the background of your story in ways you could feel, but not name. There were seasons of sudden upheaval that tore away what you thought was secure. Seasons of fog where nothing seemed clear and people showed one face while hiding another. Seasons of heavy tests where every step forward cost energy you barely had. These invisible currents pushed you to your limits, not to break you, but to show you what you truly carry within: resilience, adaptability, deep emotional intelligence, and the raw courage to keep walking even when there was no guarantee of reward. You have learned how to live with uncertainty, how to rebuild yourself after disappointment, how to rely on your own inner compass when external guidance was missing or misleading. And now a different kind of current is forming beneath your feet, one that supports rather than obstructs, one that amplifies your efforts instead of scattering them. You are entering a new destiny era, where the energy is no longer stacked against your progress. Instead, it will begin to support your growth in ways that feel almost unreal compared to the years behind you. This new phase stretches out, not just over weeks or months, but over the many years ahead, bringing opportunities for stability expansion and fulfillment that have long been delayed. That doesn't mean life suddenly becomes perfect or challenge-free. It means the weight shifts. Effort that once yielded little will start to multiply. Doors that used to close without explanation will now remain open long enough for you to walk through. People who resonate with your true self will replace those who drained, confused, or betrayed you. The invisible wall you kept running into is dissolving, and in its place appears a wide, open corridor lined with possibilities, some modest, some enormous, all asking you a single question. Will you step into this with who you are now, not who you used to be? Financially, this new era invites you into a very different relationship with money and material security. Where before you may have lived in survival mode, juggling bills, worrying about the next unexpected expense, feeling like every step forward was met with 2 steps back. This coming phase favors steady growth, wise investments, and the creation of lasting foundations. Opportunities to increase your income, change your career path, or finally launch that idea you've been carrying in your soul may arise in surprising ways. A conversation that opens a door, an offer that seems small at first, but grows into something meaningful, a risk you take that leads to stability rather than chaos. The key difference now is your readiness. Those 13 years taught you how to manage scarcity, how to stretch resources, how to recognize red flags. You are no longer the Scorpio who can be dazzled into bad deals or distracted by shortcuts. You value sustainability over impulse, alignment over appearances, and that shift alone will change how prosperity finds you and stays with you. In your career, this era carries the energy of recognition and alignment. If you have felt overlooked, underpaid, or trapped in roles that did not reflect your abilities, the coming period supports a restructuring of how you are seen and what you are rewarded for. Scorpio is a sign of depth and mastery. You were never meant for shallow work that numbs your soul. As this new era unfolds, you may find yourself drawn toward paths that allow you to use your insight, your ability to transform systems, your natural talent for seeing what others miss. Promotions, leadership roles, entrepreneurial ventures, creative pursuits, or healing professions may call to you more strongly now, and you will feel a new courage to answer that call. The tests you've already faced have given you something many people never develop: emotional stamina. That stamina will carry you through the initial discomfort of change until you find yourself in a life that actually fits you. On a personal level, this new destiny phase brings healing to your relationships and your heart. The betrayals, ghosting, misunderstandings, jealousy, and coldness you endured in the past left wounds you were sometimes too proud to admit. Scorpio loves fiercely and deeply, and when that love is mishandled, the pain is not mild, it is oceanic. Those experiences may have taught you to build walls, to become hyper-vigilant, to test people before letting them in. In this new era, your discernment remains, but the bitterness begins to dissolve. You will attract connections that understand your intensity rather than fear it, that value your loyalty rather than exploit it. Some old ties may fade completely as you grow out of patterns of attachment built on fear, trauma, or obligation. Others may transform, becoming softer, healthier, more equal. Most importantly, your relationship with yourself will shift. You will no longer see your sensitivity as a weakness, your standards as too much, or your needs as inconveniences. Instead, you will start to see them as guiding lights, pointing you toward the people and spaces that truly honor who you are. Spiritually and emotionally, this new era is about integration. For years, your inner world has been a battlefield of shadows and revelations, of intense emotions crashing through you like waves in a storm. Scorpio does not get to live on the surface. You came into this life wired for depth, and that depth has taken you through some very dark corridors. But now the lessons harvested from those corridors are ready to crystallize into wisdom. You will feel drawn more strongly to practices that ground and expand you at the same time: meditation, prayer, movement, journaling, healing modalities, time in nature, stillness, or meaningful study. Synchronicities may increase. Repeating numbers, lyrics that speak directly to your situation, dreams that feel like messages instead of chaos, a sense that the universe is closer, more responsive, more personal. This is not your imagination, it is your intuition synchronizing with the new energy around you. The more you listen, the clearer it becomes. But here is the part that matters most. This new destiny era is not something that happens to you while you passively wait. It is something that unfolds through you as you make choices aligned with who you've become. The universe can open doors, but it will not drag you through them. And your biggest risk now is not failure, it is hesitation. After years of hardship, it is easy to become so accustomed to bracing for impact that you flinch even when good things arrive. You might doubt opportunities because they feel too good, test people who have done nothing but show up with sincerity, sabotage chances. Because a part of you is still anchored to the old expectation that everything will eventually go wrong. This era asks you to retire that script. It asks you to let your nervous system learn a new pattern, one where you are allowed to receive, to trust selectively but genuinely, to move toward what feels aligned instead of always running from what might hurt. You are not being asked to be naive. You are being invited to be brave in a new way. Practically, this means saying yes to what is right for you even if it scares you, and saying no to what diminishes you even if it feels familiar. It means taking small, consistent actions toward your goals instead of waiting for the perfect moment. It means surrounding yourself with people who respect your boundaries, your time, your dreams, and gradually stepping away from those who only show up to take or to drain. It means allowing yourself to want more, not from greed, but from a knowing that you were never meant to live a life defined solely by survival. The new era that unfolds before you favors clarity, self-respect, and aligned courage. Every time you choose those, you step deeper into the destiny that has been preparing itself for you behind the scenes. And as this message comes to a close, let it settle into your chest like a gentle weight of truth, not as a rigid prophecy carved in stone, but as a story, a possibility, a map held up to your inner world. This narrative is a mirror, a reflection of one potential timeline your soul is capable of stepping into. It is not a guarantee, not a promise that life will follow an exact script, not a substitute for your own decisions, effort, or discernment. Think of it as a thought experiment for the heart, a whispered reminder that you are allowed to believe in a future that is kinder than your past. If these words resonate with you, Scorpio, if they awaken a quiet recognition in your intuition and make you feel seen in a way logic cannot fully explain, then take what you need from them and let the rest drift away like a cloud on a windy day, because not every story is meant for every soul. This is an invitation, not an instruction, an offering of perspective, not advice about money, career, or life to be followed blindly. The real power has always been and will always be inside you, in the way you choose to respond, to act, to love, to build, to rise. So breathe, Scorpio. 13 years of hard times do not get the final word in your story. A new destiny era is opening beneath your feet, not as a sudden miracle that erases everything you've lived through, but as a deep, steady turning of the tide in your favor. You are not who you were at the beginning of this long road. You are wiser now, sharper now, more compassionate now, more capable now. The universe has watched you endure and has quietly rearranged the pieces of your life so that what comes next can be more stable, more abundant, and more true to who you really are. Step forward with your scars, your strength, your lessons, and your hope. The past may have shaped you, but it does not own you. Your new era doesn't begin on a specific date marked on a calendar. It begins the moment you decide you are ready to live as the person all those years were training you to become.